Hey,
How
Gene.
are you doing, Bill?
It's been we haven't been on the air in a few weeks because of
I
the
know.
Vita Foods was happening.
Vita Foods, I was gone in Barcelona. I was
Yep.
doing all kinds of stuff. I leave tomorrow to go to New Jersey to for the Outlook on Women's Wellness Conference. And if anybody happens to be in the area and wants to attend, just go to my posts on LinkedIn. You'll find information about it. And if not, that's okay too. I've got a few more speaking engagements this year. Maybe you'll be interested in.
Yep. Actually, I saw your post over the next several months. All the talks coming up. That looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah. From my side, we are busy building NutriSelect. Very close
Yes, you
to.
are.
Yeah. Really exciting news coming within the next week, I'd say, on multiple fronts. So stay tuned for some announcements on that. I won't do the reveal here, but you're going to have to just stay tuned on the LinkedIn feed, and you'll see what's coming. Super exciting, but obviously we're getting geared up on our roadmap here, right, Gene? For Supply
That's
Side
right.
Global, end of October, which is going to be a huge inflection point for the business with the launch of the platform, et cetera. And but anyway, I'm almost tempted to say what I want to say, but I gotta wait.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Just wait.
I gotta wait to the couple things that are coming, but it's very cool. So that's the news from my side. The other piece is, I am in workshops this afternoon with one publisher, and then another publisher is reviewing my manuscript right now, is interested in bringing me on as an author. And they have dozens of best-selling authors in their stable. So that would be a huge lift for my the second book here that I finished the manuscript, which is right here.
Nice.
And The Way of the Conscious Leader, where Spirit Meets Science. So stay tuned for announcements on that too.
And since you
Yeah,
mentioned it, my book is in the process of being
cool.
edited, and that is the Vitamin Professor's Guide to Biohacking Longevity. So that
No,
one
cool.
is in process.
Very, very, very cool. That's an awesome. And I think the what's exciting about this is that I had there's a story in there, and I'll announce that when I start telling folks more detail about this. But I've been teasing about it for several months. I've been working on this second manuscript, and the reason I don't know what it's going to be published. It's probably at least 3 or 4 months out, honestly, because of the time frame. I could
Yeah.
self-publish it today on Amazon, but this is going to go through global distribution through potentially one of these publishers. So we'll see how that goes. But very excited about that. Um, and and then of course there's a great story about a great validation was for me was to have Joe Vitale write the forward. I reached out to him, had met him
That was
18 years ago.
one heck of a forward. When I read that, I was like,
Well,
my
thank
God,
you.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting, but it's going to be for anybody that's executives, leadership, founders, etc. It's all for wherever it'll meet you wherever you are on the journey, and it's lived experience over a lifetime for me and decades in this, and as a executive myself and leading teams and so on. So anyway, I'm very excited about it. I now know that this is going to be a foundational book in all the books that I'm working on, a kind of a keystone book there, which is going to be real popular. But anyway, that is in preparation for the upcoming TEDx, which we're still submitting applications to secure a stage. So stay tuned for that as well. All right. So today we have another episode in our bioactive insight series. It cut me off there.
I know.
But yeah, another episode in our Bioactive Insight series, which is, we do two series, right, Jane? We have the Bioactive Breakdown, where we have guest panelists, and that's a deep dive on a particular subject. And the Insight series was just you and me, right? That it's
Right.
geared more towards consumers, educational on the science and that sort of thing. So that's what we're doing today. And Gene, tell the audience what we're talking about today.
We are talking about the gut skin axis. So it's about, it's about beauty and immunity from the inside out. It's about the microbiome that we have above and below and the many things that it does to help us.
Yep, that's right. And I think we need to change the old legacy phrase beauty is only skin deep. That's not true. It's
Is it, right?
No, it's really not. And I mean that from a holistic point of view, body, mind, spirit sort of thing, but also from a systemics point of view, which I'm all big about systems, right? That's what I'm building with NutriSelect and what we're doing. So it's all about systems here. So we're going to try and deep dive on that a little bit for everyone today on that. And I do have a framing for kind of a case study example of a product I developed and launched at Natural Products Expo in 2007. And it was a
Okay.
super antioxidant drink concentrate. And it was, a shot. People would drink that and saw great health benefits from that. But actually, what we started to see was all these benefits for skin conditions from an ingestible. And so, I think the traditional thing when we say, we talk about skin, it's all topical, right? And people automatically go to
Yeah, yeah.
topical, right? But of course it's not.
They
And that's
do, but it's so much farther than that. Like
Yeah.
you, Bill, I have done a number of beauty from within products that and it's fun doing doing a deep dive into the research, because sometimes you find amazing things. It's like things to your point, like antioxidants. There's some amazing antioxidants that alone have had significant research conducted on them for skin health, not topically, but ingestably. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and actually what's cool about that is, right, it obviously shows bioavailability, right? Because it's actually affecting the skin and it's not from a topical. So yeah, so I have firsthand experience in developing something that actually was amazing. And then I even developed a topical around that. You and I have talked about this before, shared
Oh
that
yeah,
with you, that I
yeah.
never commercially launched, that could be a candidate for the future. So we'll leave it there at that.
Yeah.
So I guess the first thing we want to jump into is understanding the gut skin axis. And actually, I would extend that to the gut brain skin axis, because we talk about the brain gut brain axis, but it's all connected, right? From a systems point of view. And so within that, we have, it's the biological connection between the gut microbiome, which more and more research is being done on. Immune signaling, we already know this is majority of immune receptors sit in the GI tract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Inflammation, which we've touched on before, and then skin barrier integrity as well. So these are kind of the connections we want to talk about in this gut skin axis.
Indeed, we do.
And some of those key concepts, Gene, we've talked about before. You want to highlight that for us?
So, shall I hit on some of the biological connections there? Is that what you are?
Yeah,
or just what we're talking about?
let's start outlining the biological connections,
Okay.
and then we
So
can
how about this?
some supporting research. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you think about the biological connections with skin, as we alluded to in the beginning, you've got to think about the gut microbiome. The state of your microbiome is so important to so many areas of human health and wellness. But skin and immune. I mean, we know immune health. Everybody already knows. Your gut microbiome is important. You take probiotics for your immune health, etc. But there's many nutraceuticals you can use to improve gut microbiome that have broad-reaching effects for immunity, for external aspects of beauty, immune signaling. Again, if you think about the gut microbiome, there's so much going on there with regard to immune health. You've probably heard it said that 70% of your immune system is in your gut. And so,
Yeah.
you have that aspect of it. And even receptors in your skin. Like, for example, if you think about the fact that vitamin D is is an important nutrient, but there's receptors for vitamin D in the skin that have to do with a broad range of things, including immune health. And then, you have inflammation. You know, inflammation. When I attended a conference on longevity, one of the things that kept coming up over and over again from all these different professors presenting was the role that inflammation plays in aging, how you look, how you feel, your state of health. And so these are very important areas to addressing inflammation, anything you can do to help with that. As you get older, you have more inflammation. Depending on your diet, you have more inflammation. Depending on the season of the year, you have more inflammation. Depending upon, if you have things like arthritis, that's going to impact that. And of course, you've got the whole skin barrier integrity. Your skin and the state of your skin and the health of your skin does a whole lot to keep the bad guys out. And if you don't have good skin barrier function, you let in a lot of the external insults to your body. And so those are things that are all important. So these are some of the biological connections to think about. Yeah.
And there's, I can call out a couple good references for people. And always you can reach out to Gene or I for specific references if you want more information. But for example, there was a research paper in Frontiers in Microbiology that talked about the gut microbiome as a major regulator of the gut-skin axis. So this is a good one to look at. And their key findings in that research, I don't have the details. We don't have to get too technical about that. But it showed that gut microbiota can influence inflammation, oxidative stress, skin barrier function, immune signaling, everything you just outlined. And there was strong support for acne, eczema, psoriasis connections.
Oh, absolutely,
there.
Yeah. It's funny, even there. I remember reading a really interesting study on it was a prebiotic. The one escapes me at the moment, but it was showing that it did two things. One, it helped with constipation, and at the same time, it improved skin function. It improved things like eczema and the appearance of the skin and all of that. So you see that whole connection, that whole interrelationship. Anyway.
One more reference I'll call out is the skin microbiome. And by the way, we're going to get to specifics on the ingredients in a moment. But so the skin microbiome and host immunity was in Nature Reviews Microbiology. And again, the key findings there about skin microbiome directly influences immune regulation. And then also, the gut and skin microbiomes communicate through inflammatory mediators. Okay, so you may not always think, actually, you may have heard the phrase that the skin is the largest organ in your body, right?
Right.
And you need to think of it as an organ because it's communicating with the rest of your body there. So, laying out in the sun, hot Florida sun, or down here in Mexico every day is probably not a good idea for long-term exposure.
Probably not. No.
Probably not. But anyway, skin health is obviously deeply tied to that, and it's not by chance that there's a recurring theme here that we keep talking about everything about the microbiome, and of course there's a lot more research being done there, but still largely, I'd say, unexplored. There's more to learn there, and we'll see how that goes going forward here. Well, let's shift to talking about the skin as an immune organ specifically. Gene, let's do that, and then we can after that move into some of the key nutrients and bioactives.
Yeah. So, the skin is one of the most important immune organs. I mentioned before about barrier function, and we think about how internally in our bloodstream throughout our body makes certain biochemicals that help to do battle against, the bad guys, if you will, microbes, other things that cause problems. And that's all true, but it doesn't begin there. It begins here. It begins on the skin. If you have good skin barrier function, you can keep out some of those things that you don't want to penetrate. And that is extraordinarily important. So you want to keep, and by the way, if you think about it, sort of a similar thing takes place in the gut, where if you don't have good gut integrity and you don't have tight junctures to keep out the bad guys, you start absorbing things you don't want to absorb, some of the bad stuff. And so it's the same thing. If you keep your skin in good condition, it can make a huge difference in keeping out the bad guys, keeping out those things that you don't want. So skin barrier function makes a huge difference. That's like keeping out. That's the preventive part in the first instance before there's ever a problem. But also, it's even if let's say you are low in certain antioxidants, and let's say those antioxidants play an important role in helping to do some battle against, oxidative damage that might occur. Well, that oxidative damage lets more things in, and if you have a good intake of antioxidants, you can keep your skin in a healthy condition to prevent more insults to your immune system. So, I could go on and on talking about the skin as a barrier and how important that is to immune function, but I think you get the general idea.
Yeah. There's a classic paper out there that talks about, it's titled Acne Vulgaris, Probiotics in the Gut-Brain-Skin Axis. It came out in 2011, and it's a classic paper that introduces the whole gut-brain-skin axis concept. So it's not a new concept, but it may not be in the daily vernacular today in our industry. But we talk about pieces of it. And it also talked about stress, gut dysbiosis, and skin inflammation and the link there. So again, this is not a new concept. People have been thinking about this for a long time, but you may not really be aware so much in that sense of, I give you another case study example. So that same product I mentioned for particular skin conditions, and we know what acne and eczema, rosacea, psoriasis, are there. And of course, premature skin aging. There's tons of products targeting that in a cosmetic world. But that product that I had developed for internal ingestion, which was, for all intents and purposes, was a super antioxidant, right? And it showed great benefits from people from a metabolic point of view, but which led me to the development of a topical from that had a similar formula. And I remember one case study example. I did research on this. We did a lot of research with people with different skin conditions, and one particular chronic case was a woman who ran a spa. And so there's a lot of use of cleaning solvents and all kinds of things in between patients or customers coming in to use the spa for different aspects. And she was allergic to latex, so she couldn't wear gloves. So it was terrible for her, and her hands were in between her fingers were all cracked. Everything was red on her hands. And it was just a chronic condition for her that's almost prevented her from doing her work and what she was passionate about. So we tried the topical I developed. We tested it on her. And I'm not kidding, Gene. And she had tried everything, Ayurvedic treatments, all kinds of things. Nothing worked. And as soon as I gave her the topical I developed, within 3 days, it was gone. It eliminated the skin condition. So there was a power to that. Obviously, the mechanism of action is more complex than we're talking about here, but also she was taking the internal product as well, which showed some benefit. But then this kind of helped.
Sure.
So I think you can take a whole body approach when you're thinking about this. It's products that you ingest and topicals that are good. We can get into that.
I like to always call it it's beauty from the inside out and the outside in.
There you go. That's the way to frame it. I like that. And we can talk about from the outside in on another show, but for sure together, I've seen this firsthand and done research on this. There clearly is that sort of connection here. And I was amazed by what the product did. This is why I want to launch this product again, Gene.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I've seen a lot of positive results from this. I remember actually when I was a teenager. I know it's hard to believe I can I can remember that far back. But
I hear
I
you.
remember being a teenager and being a teenage boy with acne. And I remember going to the dermatologist. And what did he recommend? He recommended zinc. And I took zinc on a daily basis. And I can't tell you how effective it was for me. And later on in life, I started doing research, just pulling up all the data, discovered there's many, many studies on the use of zinc for acne vulgaris, just a whole lot of research. So finding the right thing to help the situation is huge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, let's migrate this into the key nutrients and bioactives. Many of you will already know, I'm sure, but first and foremost, I would say are probiotics and postbiotics, right? The whole biotic category, because what are they doing? They're helping with gut microbiome modulation, immune regulation, and also even skin barrier support. So there are as the biotics lead for Sanofi, I was the global R&D lead for them. I remember we investigated a lot of different types of biotics and for different target indications as well, which was fascinating. There is some good. There's tons of research out there on different probiotics and how they affect skin health. Actually, a recent paper in 2020 talked about the role of topical and oral probiotics in skin conditions, and that showed how oral probiotics improved acne, atopic dermatitis, skin barrier function, just like we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's interesting research showing for not just adults but children with atopic dermatitis, with eczema, and so using probiotics internally, and how that was able to have a positive impact externally. And then I mentioned before about the use of a prebiotic and how it was helpful for these kinds of conditions as well. And so it makes a great deal of sense. And the fact that benefits were seen in the gut as well as on the skin makes total sense when you look at how it works.
And there's other papers out there as well, a lot of recent research that shows how the skin was improved conditions based on ingestion of probiotics or postbiotics, I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's if you're good, let's jump to the next one, because this is one I've had way too much experience with. This is
I know.
We're talking about collagen peptides. I've worked for companies where I spent a good deal of my day reading research on collagen and the different kinds of collagens and the results that had when ingested on skin health. And I just want to make the point that there are different types of collagen. Collagen peptides, or hydrolyzed collagen peptides, smaller chains of collagen instead of the sort of the native larger ones, have been shown to have very, very good effects. There's things like bovine sourced collagen peptides. One that comes to mind is Virasol by Jolita. That's a raw material. Multiple human clinical studies published in peer-reviewed journals showing improvements in reduction in wrinkles, fine lines and wrinkles, improvement in skin moisturization, improvement in elasticity, just a number of areas that it was shown to improve. You can see similar results in marine collagen peptides, which is basically from fish. And you can even find it in chicken sternal cartilage. That's a BioCell branded material, which has been shown to have similar benefits for skin. And interestingly, in some of these studies, what it actually showed is that ingesting these collagens actually stimulated your body's own collagen production. It's not so much that your body said, oh, I'm going to take this collagen and transplant it into my own body. It doesn't really do that. It can take and break down that collagen into individual amino acids, which it can then reassemble into its own. But the very presence of the collagen had an effect where the body said, okay, I need to produce more collagen. And so that's what happened. And you find just phenomenal research. I mean, there's research on collagen for other things, joints, bones, other areas, but in skin health, there is a plethora of data available. and it's something I've formulated with extensively. There's even some sort of collagen substitutes nowadays where it's like a vegan collagen substitute where they've emulated some of the amino acid profiles you find in human collagen, and then done studies on it showing it was beneficial for skin as well. But most of the research is on actual collagen in bovine, marine, and chicken.
Yeah, and I think we should do a sidebar comment here about peptides in general. That's getting a lot of press in our industry right now.
Oh, it is. It is, absolutely.
And what are, we should define what peptides are for our listeners, but obviously these are, I forgot what the number of amino acids, but for small peptides, we're talking 2 to 7 amino acids.
Right.
Something like that.
You're right. And a protein can have, there's long chains of amino acids. Peptides, some of the more popular ones are the di and tripeptides, which are just 2 or 3. But like you said, it could be, let's say 10 or less, something like that. And that, and depending upon what that combination of amino acids are in that peptide chain, it can stimulate all kinds of interesting things to take place in the body. And boy, is that popular. And the term peptide is such a buzzword currently. And then there's some peptides that are actually injected, but you got to be careful what you're doing in that situation, because you start playing around with injecting peptides.
You're bypassing the gut there,
and you don't have the protection, and unless that's one that's sort of medically indicated, or that you have a really significant assurance isn't going to cause a negative impact, I would stay away from it.
I suspect that's what they injected Steve Rogers for making Captain America with the radiation exposure. Some special peptides that enhanced his, making him super soldiers or whatever.
That's right. That's right. And Stan Lee, the writer of most of those comic books, he loved to throw radiation in there, like some special kind of radiation.
Well, if you think about it, he was writing all that stuff in the 60s, right? This was in the era, right? Post, atom bomb and all that, and Manhattan Project. And then, of course, radiation exposure, still learning a lot about that at the time. So
what was funny was, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson. I can't remember what I saw a video where it's like, we're talking about the Hulk became the Hulk because of this gamma radiation going.
Gamma radiation.
Gamma radiation wouldn't do that. It's pretty funny.
No. And again, it was always something they ingested plus the radiation that caused.
That magical combination.
The combination there. You know what? We're in a modern version of that called biohacking, and so people are actually starting to take, which you're going to be talking about on one of your future talks there.
My book is really covering that and what genes that it's impacting to upregulate or downregulate some of these proteins. So,
and these, and if you look at the terms of the category of collagen peptides, and there's some major suppliers for those, it's not individual compounds. It's a collection based on molecular weight of peptides for different targets, and which I find fascinating. Which borders on, if you start to isolate all those individual peptides and test them individually, you're going to see benefits there, but also cumulatively, probably. It's a pretty complex matrix in that sense. So, but a lot of people are taking these small peptides. I mean, semaglutide, right? It's a dipeptide, right? For GLP-1 targeting. But again, it goes beyond that. People are looking at these for biohacking, for aging, stuff like that. I have a feeling, I'll make a prediction, we're kind of on the border of what happened with CBD, and which was a collection of cannabidiols, or it's I don't know, there's several compounds in there, okay, and people started isolating those out and started marketing them that way based on the 2018 Farm Bill. But I see the same problem having with peptides. In fact, in 2020, I was interviewing to head up a company that had developed some products on small peptides. But the discussion has become more mainstream now. And
It
so it's
has.
not new. This has been around for a few years. However,
It
from a
has.
regulatory framework, we're it's gray area, right? And there's a couple companies that are suppliers in our industry that are keying in on this and saying it's natural. However, once you modify from the original form,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Mm.
start to hit into those gray areas. Is it really a new dietary ingredient? So we should keep our eyes on
And
that
it
going
is.
forward.
It is a new dietary ingredient. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah,
It
no,
is.
it is a new dietary ingredient, and I won't call out the company that we looked at. We did some due diligence on, but anyway, let's jump to the next one. Polyphenols. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So quercetin, ubiquitous, ubiquitous in
Ubiquitous.
nature. Okay, in
Yeah.
plants, it has many benefits there. And then curcumin, right? And green tea
Oh,
and catechins. We know.
curcumin.
I mean, green tea. We know about that.
And
Again,
I take curcumin material. I take green tea catechins. Yeah, for sure. I
yeah,
do that myself, and I think I even have some quercetin in there somewhere.
yeah,
And
yeah,
what's interesting is
yeah,
we didn't know some years back that many polyphenols, in addition to having just their own a number of different interesting properties, a lot of anti-inflammatory stuff, actually act as prebiotics as well. So a lot of polyphenols act
yeah,
as prebiotics, which is interesting.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, there's
and
more to, well, yeah, we're going to get to that, I think, in a minute.
yeah,
But polyphenols actually are obviously ubiquitous in nature and plants as well.
they
And
are. They have and
and
anti-inflammatory is one of the. I mean, I look at
oh yeah,
curcumin, and that's kind of like the, at least from a botanical standpoint, that's kind of like the king of
yeah,
anti-inflammatory herbal compounds. I mean, there's other many good ones, but that's
yeah,
sort of part of the most well-known one. The only
yeah.
downside to curcumin is that it has poor bioavailability, so you need to use one with a delivery system to help. But
That's
man,
right.
these are fantastic. These are fantastic compounds that do so many, many good things.
Yeah, in fact, there was a really good paper that talked about natural polyphenols in skin health and nutrients that came
And
out.
they're highly antioxidant too. We should mention that.
Yes,
Anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and you can start seeing
which
some of the benefit for skin in
yeah,
that regard.
which makes sense because that brings me back to the product I talked about in the beginning. It
Yep.
was actually fresh olive leaf, not olive leaf, because actually a lot of those compounds degrade once you dry it. But they had the company I had worked with. I had developed a proprietary process to stabilize it as a liquid, and that's why my product was a liquid. Launched that in the U.S. in '07 at Expo. Anyway, very cool. But again, rich in polyphenols there. That's why it had such a high antioxidant potential to it. And of course, it made sense that we saw the changes in the skin condition, stuff like that, because it was certainly signaling for skin health as well, because it was so potent there. So great
Yep.
bioavailability in that. But again, it was polyphenols. You have the leuropines in there, but you have all these other polyphenolic compounds in there. It's a compilation of all of that is what's delivering the benefit. And that's true across the board for green tea. Any plants that have these polyphenols, they may be targeting certain for antioxidant. That's probably what they're most known for, but they're definitely involved in inflammation and other things as well.
No question about it. Absolutely. Um, okay, so let's talk about the prebiotic fibers.
Yeah,
Um, Prebiotics have sort of their own. What are the advantages to prebiotics? Probiotics are wonderful. You always have to be very concerned with stability. And are you using one that has good stability, or is it dead by the time you get it? Which is a whole other story if you're looking at a postbiotic, but that's something else. But with prebiotics, all the probiotics need food, and their food are the prebiotics that help to feed them and help them to expand, be healthy, form colonies, do the things they do. But one of the things
that's right.
that happens is one of the things that probiotics do, that prebiotics help them to do, is it generates some little compounds, different kinds of compounds. And butyrate is one of those compounds. And there's a lot of studies on butyrate. In fact, I recently wrote a manuscript which is undergoing peer review at the moment, and you had a chance to review it, where it was AKK postbiotic together with butyrate for weight loss. And the butyrate, it does so much of what, not in all cases certainly, but does a lot of what some of the benefits are associated with the whole biotics category. And so prebiotics are, if you can take probiotics till the cows come home, but if you don't have enough prebiotics present to feed them and make them healthy, it's just not going to do what it's going to do. So to me, the perfect world of supplementing with biotics is use your probiotic. You may want to use a postbiotic as well, but don't forget your prebiotics. And when you do use prebiotics, don't just look at one where, oh, here's a capsule and it's got X amount of probiotics in it, and oh, look, it's got 100 milligrams of prebiotics. Folks, there's only about one prebiotic I've ever seen. It was a xylo-oligosaccharide material. That 1 gram was sufficient. Most of the time you need closer to 3 or 5 grams or even more to do the job. So
it's always one
a powder,
Yeah, 1 gram plus usually in that category, I'd say.
Yeah. So, but if you do that, you can do a whole lot of good for yourself. And it has many, many properties. Many prebiotics will help give you a sense of fullness, so you're not as hungry. Many prebiotics can help with regularity. And the prebiotics, of course, will feed your probiotics. So there's a lot of benefits that you find. And then individual ones, like studies showing it's good for your skin. When you ingest it, you have benefits in your skin. So, prebiotic fibers are awesome. And it's one of the few types of fibers that your body can actually break down and utilize.
Right. And then our next one is omega-3s. We've talked about this a few times on the show, and we had a whole bioactive breakdown episode on this over a year ago, actually. But omega-3s are a commodity ingredient, but something that should be part of your diet as well as supplementation. No question that the fatty acids there are beneficial to skin conditions. So, so for example, some recent, probably the most recent research talked about dietary fatty acids, which include omega-3s and skin health, and how they modulated inflammatory signaling and supported membrane integrity and hydration. So again, there's tons of research out there. I think by last number that I saw, there's probably over 11,000 published studies on omega-3 fatty acids today. And
it has its own mechanism of action by which it has anti-inflammatory effects. And it is tremendous. It's one of the ones I always recommend. And what's really interesting for folks out there that may not know is, you have different categories of fatty acids. You have omega-3s, omega-6s, omega-9s. Well, there's a balance that should exist between omega-3s and omega-6s. Some of the omega-6s, like you get in vegetable oils, can be pro-inflammatory, okay? Whereas omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. And years ago, I want to say back probably grandparents, great-grandparents' time, and I'm talking about our grandparents, great-grandparents. There was a different balance that you had about closer to a 1-to-1 ratio, not 1-to-1, like a 15-to-1 ratio where you had more omega-3s. Now it's flipped, and you've got about, 15 times more intake of the omega-6s. And the result is we have a higher inflammatory load that exists. You need to balance that out, toss some good omega-3s in there. It'll make a big difference in terms of inflammation and many areas of human health and wellness, cardiovascular health, and skin health.
Yep. And let's wrap it up on this section. We'll talk about the antioxidants. We've already mentioned that here. Obviously, vitamin C, astaxanthin. Anything you want to add to that? I don't think we have to go too deep into that. But
no, we don't. I just want to say, probably more than any other antioxidant, when I formulated products for skin health, I've used astaxanthin because there's some really, really good research at as little as 4 milligrams of astaxanthin daily, helping a broad range of skin-related issues in as little as 6 to 8 weeks. So I highly recommend that. And glutathione, of course, in addition to being an antioxidant, it's one of those things that's been shown to help with when you get like some hyperpigmentation. It's actually been shown to help with that as well in skin. So, all of those are great. And again, we could belabor the point, but they're all great antioxidants that are fantastic for your skin.
Cool. All right, let's kind of in the home stretch here, Gene. We'll talk about lifestyle signals that affect both gut and skin health, and then of course the future. Let's talk about that a little bit, and then some takeaways. We'll wrap it up there. So stress. This is a big one in terms of a lifestyle signal. So obviously cortisol levels are affected when you're under stress, that whole fight or flight sort of thing, and inflammatory signaling from that as well. Stress triggered skin flare-ups. Okay, I'm sure people have experienced when they're under stress flare-ups that show up on the skin, rashes, acne, even though you may be treating topically for those conditions and stuff, but stress can bring on a lot of things in our body, unfortunately, and not just internally, but externally as well here.
That's right. Even stuff like rosacea, you'll find more happening when you have stress. So anything you can do to help with containing your stress, and there's nutraceuticals, things like ashwagandha and other types of herbs that you can use for help. But those are things to really take a look at. Now, sleep, of course, is a huge area. I actually wrote some articles on beauty sleep and the importance of using things like, if you need it, melatonin, things like even lycopene, showing that if you have lower levels of lycopene, it impacts your sleep, and because you have increased inflammation, and these are all things that will affect the way your skin looks and feels, and so it's immune related as well. So sleep is vitally important. Beauty sleep isn't just a term. It's reality. You can tell. You can look at somebody and go, "Oh yeah, they didn't get enough sleep." You can see it in their face. It's the first thing you can see. Yeah,
exactly. And of course, connected with that, we've talked about it before. Diet. Sorry to beat the drum about this, but it's true. Okay, whatever you garbage in, garbage out, whatever you're putting into your body is going to affect your body, and it can show up on your skin. Okay, so look, ultra processed foods, come on, minimally processed as much as possible in your diet. Blood sugar dysregulation, okay, things that interrupt that, especially as you get older. All of our bodies age the same in terms of from a biological standpoint. So again, we're not like when we were 22 and thought we were bulletproof and could go do crazy stuff because we're paying for that today, right, Gene?
That's right.
from those crazy things we did. That's another topic for another podcast. And then, any advanced glycation and end products. Okay, so again,
I wrote a whole book on diabetes. There were whole sections dedicated to AGEs and the role that they play in messing you up big time. Too much sugar in our diet, which we have way too much of. Do you know that a can of Pepsi has something like 42 grams of sugar in a can?
It's insane.
Can of Pepsi. And it's like, wow. And some people, that's just like a 12-ounce can. Some people get these big gulps and it's, oh my God, you're taking in so much sugar, and the negative effect it has on your body. Those extra sugars, they'll not only do they store as body fat and give you cavities and things like that, but they'll bind together with proteins and create these AGEs, create all kinds of problems. So,
oh man, I mean, I look, sugar products like that and Coke and stuff have not been in my household for decades because of that reason. Okay. Um, I'll admit I have a Coke Zero, which is no sugar, every
Right.
now and then,
Yeah,
but
I'll do the same. Sometimes for
yeah,
out of karaoke, and I feel oftentimes I just drink like club soda
yeah,
with lime, you know. But
yeah.
but sometimes I feel like having a Diet Coke or
Yeah.
Coke Zero or something like that.
I was, Coke versus Pepsi. I was a Coke guy. I lived in Atlanta
Me
too.
too.
So, the
Me
home of
too.
Coca-Cola. So, but this is back in my 20s, except when I worked for Pizza Hut delivery and we launched pizza delivery at Atlanta market. Then it was all PepsiCo products and blah, wakala. Man, I didn't want to taste it. It's like, why can't we have Coke products? Well, they're owned by PepsiCo. So no,
Yeah.
we couldn't do that. But
And
anyway.
now PepsiCo has branched out and they're doing
Oh,
many
yeah.
other things. It's a lot of healthy stuff. So kudos
Yeah.
to them for making those good choices.
Exactly. And our last thing here,
Environmental
another big
exposure.
one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, pollution, UV exposure, toxic burden. Those are something that, again, the toxins and pollutions and all that. I wrote a book on that too, and that
I'm
is something
sure.
that is something that we have just huge tons and tons of toxins that are dumped into the environment. You can find whole listings of it on the website for the Environmental Protection Agency and see what's there. We have a lot of this, and the burden of toxins is more than our body was actually meant to process.
Oh, yeah.
It's meant to process toxins, but the sheer volume is a lot, and your body's struggling to get rid of this stuff. And this stuff can have ill effects on your health as well as on your skin. And
it builds up too, right? If you have chronic exposure, that sort of thing.
It absolutely does. And then UV radiation, of course. Listen, I'm not saying don't get any sun, but a lot of people are sun worshipers. They're out there getting lots of sun. And man, you could see somebody who's a sun worshiper early life. They spend a lot of time out there getting that tan. And now you look at them and you're like, oh, what are you, 60? I'm 45. What do you mean? It's like, oh, yeah, your skin looks like it's much older because, you got all these wrinkles because you spent too much time in the sun.
Exactly.
And of course, there's some nutraceuticals that you could take that can help with that. Even things like lycopene, things like beta carotene, things like, well, I could go on and on, but there's many things you can use.
That's right. Cool.
So.
Let's move to talking about the future of where this is going in terms of personalized. I know it's an overused word, but how we can truly
true personalized nutrition. That's a thing that is, I think we're moving in that direction. And then things like skin microbiome testing, see what your needs are. Looking at different biomarkers, which we can do today if we're working with an integrative physician and they do blood tests and other kinds of things. And then something a lot about, and being on your advisory board, I know a bit about too, is that AI-driven recommendations when you're looking at what are the things that are actually going to help. What is the research on? Things like, NutriSelect AI, once it's launched, I think will make a big difference in this area too.
Yeah. And it's, some people may be confused about what we're doing with NutriSelect.ai. So I just want to state what our vision is. And we're building an intelligence platform. It's for evidence-based supplementation. And the same intelligence platform we're building could carry over into topicals, for example. We could build out those categories as well and take the same approach there and seeing what's truly beneficial for you, true personalization. So again, technology is going to advance all these areas for sure in the near future. And I think a fundamental question we could ask ourselves, I'll give you my thoughts. Will skincare move from topical products like it's traditionally been to internal optimization? For me, it's like I said before, it's going to be both still. But you could enhance the benefit of the topical with the internal ingestion of
beauty from the inside out and the outside in. It's going to be
you already said that.
Yeah, absolutely. So things like So look, I think that if we want to talk about maybe just some practical takeaways,
Yeah.
I think that things like I think we've hit on the gut health strongly. So
Yep.
think about a good probiotic, a good prebiotic. Inflammation, manage the inflammation. Do what you can to manage that. Eat a healthier diet. Use some anti-inflammatory herbs or nutraceuticals, things like curcumin, things like omega-3 fatty acids. Manage the inflammation. That'll make a big difference.
Yep.
And you know, and then things like eat nutrient dense food. Try to avoid the junk,
Yeah.
and consistently do these things. There's really
Yes.
no
It's all
quick
about.
fixes. You
Yeah.
need
No, there isn't. It's
consistency.
all. It's consistency, and then when people would come to me for years, they'd say, "Hey, Dr. Bill, what do I take for this?" And the first statement I always respond with is, "Well, first of all, there's no miracle pill. Okay,
Right.
it's a holistic approach, body, mind, spirit. And I would add sleep to that, and in terms of how you take care of yourself proactively. So there aren't any, although you would think there are miracle beauty supplements out there that are going to transform you overnight, but the reality is that's not the case. Some of it's just temporary.
And some of it is good,
Yeah,
but to know what's good, you've got to look for products that have clinically
exactly.
substantiated ingredients. You got to know what the things that really make a difference.
That's right.
Things like astaxanthin. Make sure there's 4 milligrams, et cetera, et cetera. You look for the right stuff at the right doses, and you know those are things that can make a huge difference for you. And again, I think NutriSelect AI, once that's out, will help too, because then people will be able to find out what is real and what is not
Yeah.
right on their phone, on their app.
Yep. All right, then let's close it up. For me, the kind of my closing statement on here is what I already mentioned earlier is the systems approach. So the future of beauty isn't just what we put on our skin; it's how we support the systems beneath it. It's a whole, again, a holistic approach. That's my final thought on our topic today.
And mine is that healthy skin reflects healthy physiology. Eat well, treat yourself well, and think of beauty as something from the inside out and the outside in.
That's right. All right, Gene, let's take it out of here, I guess. For future, our next episode, stay tuned. It's going to be kind of a continuation on the biotic side, and it'll be a bioactive breakdown. We haven't lined up our guest panelists yet, but it'll be on psychobiotics and postbiotics which covers kind of the mental health, mental wellness.
It's going to be a fascinating one. Don't miss that one.
We're going to deep dive the science in that. So probably towards the end of June. So stay tuned. Today's only June 1st, believe it or not. So it's coming. Anyway, that's it for me, Gene. I'll take us out of here. We're good to go. Good to go.
Sounds good.
All right.